There is a ghost that walks beside you, an invisible counterpart, a specter woven from the threads of your deepest, most unacknowledged self. Carl Jung called it the anima or the animus, the soul image. It is the echo of every potential you've abandoned, every strength you've disowned, every dream you buried alive in the graveyard of practicality. For your entire life, this ghost has been your silent partner. And then one day you walk into a crowded room, you turn a corner, you glance across a train car. And you see it, you see your ghost wearing the flesh and blood of a stranger. And in that moment, your soul, your very atoms, scream a single word: recognition. This isn't a flutter in your stomach. This isn't the cheap thrill of attraction. This is a tectonic shift in your reality. It is the feeling of being known on a level you have never even known yourself. This is the profound, earth-shattering certainty that Jung spoke of. It's the feeling that life has been a long, winding road leading to this exact coordinate in space and time. The title of this journey we are on together is, When Someone is Meant for You, You Will Feel It. But we are going to tear apart the word feel. We are going to dissect it, hold its components up to the light, and separate the fool's gold of infatuation from the raw, unyielding diamond of true psychic connection. Most of you have been taught to distrust this feeling. You've been told it's just chemistry, hormones, or wishful thinking. You've been conditioned to rely on checklists and logic, to measure a person's worth by their resume and not by the resonance of their soul. And so when the real thing comes along, you panic, you rationalize it away, you sabotage it, because the magnitude of that feeling implies a destiny you don't feel worthy of, a responsibility to your own soul that you are terrified to accept. Today, that ends. We will not speak of dating tips or superficial compatibility. We will speak of the soul's agenda. We will explore the unmistakable signs that your unconscious mind, the vast and powerful universe within you, has identified a catalyst for your own becoming. This is not about finding your other half. That is a lie sold to the incomplete. This is about meeting the person who, by their very existence, forces you to become whole. This is the brutal, beautiful, and terrifying truth of what it means when someone is truly meant for you. So silence your rational mind, for it knows nothing of these territories. We are venturing into the wilderness of the human heart, guided by the wisdom of one of its greatest explorers. Sign 1: The shock of recognition, confronting your soul image. The first and most powerful signal is not one of gentle affection. It is a shock. It's a jolt of psychic electricity that bypasses your conscious mind entirely. Jung identified this as the phenomenon of projection, specifically the projection of the anima or animus. Let's be brutally clear about what this means. Inside every man, there is a latent, unconscious feminine archetype, the anima. She is the sum of his experiences with women, yes, but more profoundly, she is his own undeveloped feminine qualities, his intuition, his capacity for relatedness, his creativity, his connection to nature and the soul. For most of his life, she is a shadow. Inside every woman, there is a latent, unconscious masculine archetype, the animus. He is the sum of her experiences with men, but more, he is her own undeveloped masculine qualities, her logic, her assertiveness, her ambition, her ability to build structures in the world. He is often a critical, silent judge within. You walk through life with this inner figure, this soul image, completely unconscious of its power. Then you meet someone. And this person, through their mannerisms, their energy, their way of thinking or being, provides a perfect hook for you to hang this entire unconscious complex upon. You project your soul image onto them. The feeling is overwhelming. It's a sense of immediate, profound intimacy and familiarity. You feel you've known them forever. You finish their sentences. You understand their hidden pains without a word. This is not because you are a mind reader. It is because you are not talking to them. You are, in that initial stage, talking to a lost part of yourself that they have awakened. Consider the story of Julian, a man who built his life on a foundation of brutal logic and control. He was a structural engineer, a master of concrete and steel. His world was made of right angles, predictable stresses, and measurable forces. Emotion was a weakness, a variable to be eliminated. His inner world was a barren landscape, his anima a starved and silent prisoner. Then at a dusty, chaotic street market, he met Alara. She was a potter. Her hands were covered in clay, her clothes were mismatched, and she laughed from her belly. She spoke of colors having moods and clay having a memory. To Julian's conscious mind, she was everything he disdained, illogical, messy, impractical. But to his soul, she was a monsoon in a desert. The moment he saw her, it wasn't attraction he felt. It was a violent, undeniable pull, as if a hook had been lodged in his sternum and was reeling him in. He felt a terror and a homecoming all at once. She was the living embodiment of the intuitive, earthy, creative part of himself he had ruthlessly suppressed for 40 years. She was his anima, walking and breathing in the world. Now here is the brutal truth that separates the seeker from the fool. Most people stop here. They fall in love with their own projection. They deify the other person, placing them on a pedestal and demanding that they perfectly and eternally embody this inner ideal. This is the road to ruin, because no human being can bear the weight of a god. Eventually, the human being peeks through. The potter gets angry or is selfish or has a bad day, and the projection shatters. The love turns to bitter disappointment and accusations of "you've changed." No, they haven't changed. You've just started to see them for the first time instead of the reflection of your own soul. When someone is meant for you, the shock of recognition is only the invitation. It's the first chapter, not the whole story. The positive outcome isn't to live happily ever after with your projection. The positive outcome is to recognize the jolt for what it is, a signpost from your unconscious pointing to the parts of yourself you must now integrate. Julian's journey with Alara wasn't about her completing him. It was about her presence giving him the courage to finally face his own inner world. He had to learn to find the potter within himself. He had to learn to embrace his own intuition, to allow for chaos, to find beauty in imperfection. She wasn't the destination, she was the map. Your actionable step is this: when you feel that overwhelming, meant-to-be pull, do not simply surrender to it. Interrogate it. Ask yourself with brutal honesty, what does this person represent that I lack? What quality in them am I starving for in myself? Do I admire their freedom because I am in a cage of my own making? Do I admire their intellect because I have neglected my own mind? Do I admire their kindness because I have been cruel to myself? See the projection for what it is, a mirror. The person meant for you is the one who holds up that mirror and loves you enough to let you look into it, no matter how terrifying the reflection is. The connection deepens when you both agree to take back your projections and see the flawed, magnificent human being standing before you. Sign 2, synchronicity as a compass. The universe conspires. Once the initial shock of recognition has settled, a new phenomenon begins to emerge. The universe itself seems to bend and warp around your connection. This is synchronicity, a concept Jung defined as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than the probability of chance is involved. It's when the outer world provides a stunning and undeniable reflection of your inner world. When someone is truly meant for you as a catalyst for your soul's journey, your meeting is not a random event. It is a nexus point. and the universe will begin to provide confirmation in the form of these meaningful coincidences. It's not just bumping into them at the grocery store. It is far stranger, more specific, and more resonant than that. You might be thinking of them, and their obscure favorite song from childhood starts playing on the radio. You might book a flight to a city you've never visited, only to find they are on the same flight. You might uncover an old family photograph and see one of their relatives in the background, a ghost from a past that was already connected to yours. The world starts to feel like a conspiracy in your favor. Let's talk about Marcus and Lena. Marcus was a historian, obsessed with a little-known maritime disaster from the 18th century. He had spent years trying to track down the lost manifest of a ship called the Serafina. It was his life's work. Lena was a marine biologist living 1,000 miles away, studying coral bleaching. One day, while sorting through her late grandfather's possessions, she found an old, salt-stained ledger in a sea chest. Out of curiosity, she looked inside. It was the original manifest of the Serafina. She had no idea what it was, but she felt it was important. A few weeks later, her research funding was unexpectedly moved to a new university, the very same one where Marcus worked. On her first day, she was in the library, holding the manifest, wondering who she could ask about it. She looked up and saw a man, Marcus, giving a lecture. On the projector screen behind him was a painting of a ship. It was the Serafina. This is synchronicity. It is the universe laying down a breadcrumb trail, affirming that you are on the right path. It's a wink from the cosmos. These are not mere chances. They are signals from the vast, interconnected web of reality telling you to pay attention. This connection matters. It has weight. It is part of a larger pattern. The brutal truth here is that most people are spiritually blind. They see these events as cute anecdotes, quirky coincidences, and nothing more. They miss the message entirely. They see the signpost but refuse to believe it points anywhere. They demand a logical explanation for an event that is, by its very nature, beyond the grasp of simple cause and effect. To ignore synchronicity is to tell the universe you are not interested in its guidance. It's to slam the door in the face of destiny. The consequence of this blindness is a life of what-ifs. You will feel a gnawing sense that you missed something vital. You will feel that you are swimming against a current, that life is harder than it should be because you ignored the very current that was trying to carry you home. The positive outcome of attuning yourself to synchronicity is a profound sense of trust. You begin to understand that you are not a victim of random circumstance, but a co-creator with a living, intelligent universe. You develop a dialogue with reality itself. This connection with this other person feels blessed, guided, and significant, not because of wishful thinking, but because the evidence is all around you. Your actionable step is to become a detective of meaning in your own life. Start a synchronicity journal. When a strange coincidence happens, especially in relation to a specific person, don't just laugh it off. Write it down. Record the date, the time, the event, and most importantly, the feeling it evoked in you. What was your inner state just before it happened? What thought or emotion did the event seem to punctuate? Over time, you will begin to see a pattern emerge from the noise. You will learn the language of the universe. You are not looking for proof to show others. You are gathering evidence to convince your own skeptical mind that you are part of something much, much bigger than you think. When the universe conspires to bring you together with someone, it is not an invitation to a fairy tale. It is a summons to an adventure of mutual unfolding. Sign 3: The silence that isn't empty, a shared inner world. In a world obsessed with noise, performance, and constant communication, one of the most profound and rarest signals of a deep connection is the quality of your silence together. With most people, silence is a vacuum that must be filled. It's awkward. It's a social failure. The pressure mounts to say something, anything, to prove your worth, to entertain, to keep the flimsy bridge of connection from collapsing. But when you are with someone who is truly meant for you, the silence is not a vacuum. It is a substance. It is a shared space, a sanctuary. It's the feeling of two inner worlds sitting side by side in complete peace without any need for external validation. You can sit in a room for an hour, reading, thinking, or just being, and there is no anxiety. There is no void. There is only a deep, abiding presence. This is a sign that the connection exists on a pre-verbal, soul-to-soul level. Your nervous systems are co-regulating. You have moved beyond the ego's frantic need to perform. You are no longer two actors on a stage trying to impress each other. You have both walked off stage and are sitting together in the quiet of the empty theater, the performance over. You are simply being together. Think of Anya, a brilliant trial lawyer. Her entire life was a performance. In the courtroom, she was a warrior of words, her mind a weapon. In social settings, she was witty, charming, and always in control of the narrative. Her relationships were exhausting, a constant negotiation and presentation of the Anya brand. She was always tired. Then she met Ben. He was a woodworker who lived in a small cabin in the woods. He spoke little, but when he did, his words had the weight of ancient trees. Their first few dates were, to Anya's mind, a disaster. She would launch into a brilliant story and he would simply listen, nodding, his eyes calm and present. There were long pauses. At first, they terrified her. She felt an overwhelming urge to fill them, to tap dance, to prove her value. But Ben was utterly unbothered by the quiet. One afternoon, they sat on his porch for 2 hours as the sun went down. Neither of them said more than a dozen words. They just watched the light change, listening to the forest. For Anya, it was a revelation. For the first time in her adult life, she felt her inner monologue shut down. The constant chattering anxiety in her head went silent. She wasn't performing. She wasn't being evaluated. She was just there, and she felt more seen in that silence with him than she had ever felt in 1,000 hours of clever conversation with others. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of a shared peace. Here lies the brutal truth. This kind of silence is deeply confronting for those who have built their identity on a mask. If your entire sense of self is based on being funny or smart or interesting, then a silence where you don't have to be any of those things can feel like an annihilation of self. It can feel like you are disappearing. You might even try to sabotage it, to create drama or noise, just to feel the familiar ground of performance under your feet again. The consequence of fleeing this silence is that you will be trapped forever in the shallows of human connection. You will have a life full of acquaintances and admirers, but you will be profoundly, achingly lonely. You will never know the rest that comes from being fully accepted, beyond your words, beyond your masks, beyond your accomplishments. The profound outcome of embracing this sacred silence is that you finally find a place to rest. You discover that you are worthy of love even when you are not on. This person becomes your sanctuary, the one place on earth where you can take off the heavy armor of your persona and just let your soul breathe. And in that shared breathing, an intimacy is forged that is 1,000 times stronger than one built on wit or charm. It is an intimacy of being. Your actionable step is to test the silence. The next time you are with someone you feel a connection with, dare to be quiet. Don't plan it. Just let a natural pause in the conversation extend. Don't panic. Don't reach for your phone. Don't fill the space. Just breathe and be present with them. Observe your own inner reaction. Are you terrified? Are you anxious? Or do you feel a sense of calm, of shared presence? Observe them. Are they squirming and uncomfortable? Or are they relaxed, present with you in the quiet? The quality of that shared silence will tell you more about the depth of your connection than 1,000 hours of conversation ever could. Sign 4, a catalyst for growth, the path of individuation. This is the most crucial, most misunderstood, and most brutally honest sign of them all. The person who is truly meant for you is not meant to make you happy. That is a childish fantasy. The person who is truly meant for you is meant to make you whole, and the process of becoming whole is rarely a happy one. It is a painful, terrifying, and ultimately glorious process that Jung called individuation. Individuation is the journey of shedding all the false layers, the persona, the ego, the expectations of society and family, to become the unique, complete individual you were always meant to be. It involves confronting your shadow, the dark, repressed, and undeveloped part of your psyche. The person meant for you is a catalyst for this process. They will, by their very nature, trigger your deepest wounds, your most profound insecurities, and your darkest shadows. This is not a flaw in the connection, it is its central purpose. They are the grit in the oyster that forces the creation of the pearl. Their presence in your life will hold up a merciless mirror to all the parts of you that you have refused to look at. Imagine a man who prides himself on his generosity. He sees himself as a giving, selfless person. He meets a woman he feels an incredible connection with, but she is fiercely independent. She refuses his grand gestures, his offers to pay for everything, his attempts to save her. This drives him mad. It triggers a deep rage and insecurity in him. His ego is screaming, "She is ungrateful. She doesn't appreciate me." But the soul is asking a different question. Why is your sense of self-worth so dependent on being the giver? What are you avoiding by always putting yourself in the position of the savior? The woman isn't the problem. She is the catalyst. She is forcing him to confront the shadow of his generosity, a deep-seated need for control and a fear of being seen as needy himself. A true soul-level connection is not defined by a lack of conflict. It is defined by the nature of the conflict. In a superficial relationship, conflict is about winning, about being right, about defending the ego. In a relationship of individuation, conflict is a tool for mutual excavation. You fight not to destroy each other, but to destroy the illusions that keep you from yourselves and from each other. The fights are terrifying because they feel like they are tearing you apart, but what is actually being torn away is the false self. The brutal truth is that most people run from this. The moment the projection shatters and the shadow work begins, they bail. They say, "This is too hard," or "We're not compatible," or "You bring out the worst in me." They fail to understand that it's not bringing out the worst in you. It is bringing the worst in you to the surface so it can finally be seen, understood, and integrated. To flee this process is to choose psychological stagnation. You will simply find another partner and repeat the exact same pattern because the problem was never the other person. The problem is the unexamined shadow within you. The consequence of avoiding this catalyst is a life of repetition. You will be a hamster on a wheel, endlessly dating the same person in a different body, triggering the same wounds, and running away at the same point, never learning, never growing, never becoming whole. The extraordinary outcome of leaning into this alchemical fire is true transformation. You use the relationship as a crucible. You and your partner become allies in the great work of mutual individuation. You agree to hold space for each other's shadows, to call each other out on your patterns, and to love each other not in spite of the darkness, but because of the courage it takes to face it. This is how you build a connection that is unbreakable. It has been forged in the fires of self-revelation. Your actionable step is to reframe conflict. The next time a person you love triggers a disproportionately strong emotional reaction in you, rage, fear, jealousy, shame, stop. Before you blame them, turn the spotlight inward. Ask the terrifying question, what is this situation showing me about an unhealed part of myself? What is this person reflecting back to me that I have refused to own? View your partner not as your adversary, but as your most dedicated and courageous spiritual teacher. The one meant for you is the one who makes you confront yourself and has the strength to stand with you in the fire. Sign 5. The feeling of coming home, a return to the self. After the shock of recognition, the guidance of synchronicity, the peace of shared silence, and the fiery trials of individuation, you arrive at the final, overarching feeling. It is the feeling of coming home. But this is the most deceptively simple concept of them all. This is not the feeling of coming home to them. It is not the feeling of having finally found the person who will fix you, save you, or complete you. That is the language of codependence, the anthem of the unwhole. The true, profound feeling of coming home is this: their presence in your life makes you feel more at home in your own skin than you have ever felt before. It's a paradox. They challenge you more than anyone, yet you feel more at peace. They expose your deepest flaws, yet you feel more accepted. They push you to grow and change, yet you feel more like your true, authentic self than ever. This is because they are not adding something to you that was missing. They are reflecting back to you the wholeness that was already there, buried under years of fear and conditioning. Their love doesn't fill a hole in you. Their love gives you the courage to fill that hole yourself. Their belief in you doesn't make you worthy. Their belief in you helps you finally see the worthiness that was your birthright. It's a quiet, powerful, and unshakable feeling of rightness. Not a giddy, frantic, in-love feeling, but a deep, resonant hum in your soul that says, "Ah, yes, this is correct. I am on my path now. I am becoming who I was meant to be." Consider the final stage of Julian the engineer and Alara the potter. After years of projection, synchronicity, and painful growth, a new state emerged. Julian didn't become Alara. He didn't abandon his logic. He integrated it with a newfound intuition. He was still a brilliant engineer, but now he designed buildings that had soul, that felt good to be in, not just ones that were structurally sound. He had found the potter within himself. Alara, in turn, didn't become Julian. She didn't abandon her art, but she learned from him how to build a structure for her life, how to run her business with more clarity and purpose. She had found the engineer within herself. When they were together now, the feeling wasn't one of desperate clinging or "I can't live without you." It was a feeling of two complete sovereign mountains standing side by side, sharing the same sky, witnessing each other's majesty. The feeling of coming home was not about collapsing into each other. It was the feeling of finally standing fully upright in their own power and recognizing the same strength and completeness in the other. It was a return to the self. The final brutal truth is this: you will never, ever experience this feeling of coming home with another person until you have begun the work of building a home within yourself. If you are a refugee from your own soul, you will seek asylum in others, and they will always, eventually, deport you. You will be a spiritual vagrant looking for a place to rest but finding none. The ultimate consequence of not doing this inner work is a life spent searching for a home that can only be built, not found. You will wander from person to person, from distraction to distraction, always feeling like an exile, never understanding that the key to the kingdom has been in your own pocket the entire time. The glorious outcome is a love that is not based on need, but on resonance. It is a love between two whole people, not two broken halves. It is a partnership that is a powerful force for good in the world because it is not consumed with its own internal drama. It is free, sovereign, and generative. It is the feeling of deep peace, of profound rightness, of finally being fully and completely yourself, and being witnessed in that truth by another who is doing the same. So we end where we began. That jolt of recognition when you meet them is real. That feeling that you are meant to be is valid, but it is not a promise of easy happiness. It is a call to arms. It is your soul sounding the alarm, declaring that the time for hiding is over. The person who is meant for you is the one who arrives at the exact moment you are ready to begin the terrifying, magnificent work of becoming yourself. Do not look for a savior, look for a mirror. Do not look for a harbor, look for an ocean that will challenge you to become a better sailor. Do not ask, does this person make me happy? Ask, does this person's presence in my life make me more brave, more honest, more myself? When someone is meant for you, you will feel it. You will feel it as a shock to your system, as a conspiracy of the universe, as the peace of a sacred silence, as the fire of transformation, and finally, as the profound and quiet joy of coming home to your own soul. That is the journey. Trust the feeling, and have the courage to answer its call.